Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Yasmin. I'm 18 years old and I'm going into my second year. No, I actually am in my second year at McGill University. So since we are at the end of the month of September, midterm season is coming up. And in the honor of midterm season, I decided to put together some videos to make sure you ace every single exam you're going to be taking. So the sections I'm going to be talking about is before an exam, during an exam, and after an exam. And since I don't want this video to be way too long, I'm actually going to split it into two videos. So it's going to be like 2 episodes, and the most thing I have to talk about is before an exam. So this video is going to be all about what to do before an exam. So everything I'm going to be talking about, what you need to do before an exam, is split into 4 sections: planning, studying, testing, and self-care. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the first section, which is planning. So the main problem that most people have during an exam is blanking out, and blanking out during an exam is all the time a result of not planning ahead. So you need to plan what to study, obviously, write a to-do list and pair it up with a schedule. And the reason that I say this is because it helps you figure out how much time you have to study and how much time you need to spend on every single section. It's never, ever, ever a good idea to get into studying an exam without planning ahead. So firstly, with the to-do lists, for them to be effective, they need to be extremely detailed. So instead of writing on your to-do list, oh, do chapter 1, something that I always do is split every single thing that I need to do for chapter 1. So instead of writing for chapter 1, do chapter 1, I would say read over and highlight important notes in chapter 1, then memorize keywords for chapter 1, then research case studies that I may need for prior knowledge for chapter 1, things like that. Break down every single section you need, and it really helps you plan ahead, because if you just write down like, oh, chapter 1, then you don't know how much time you're actually going to be spending on it, because you don't know exactly what you're going to need to be doing. Being detailed is very crucial to figure out how much time you actually need to spend, because for an example, if you wrote, oh, do practice questions, you're not going to know how much time you're actually going to need to spend. But if you wrote, do practice papers 1 and practice papers 2, you would know exactly how much time you need to spend on every single practice paper. And next, the reason that I say is schedule your to-do list, it's because it helps you always have access to exactly what you need to do exactly when. And I personally love scheduling my to-do list because it helps me stay motivated. When I wake up and I already have every single thing I need to do for the day, exactly what at exactly what time, it kind of keeps me motivated because it gives me something to look forward to. And at the same time, I love to schedule my to-do list because it keeps you productive, because you really wouldn't be as productive if you spend a big part of your day trying to figure out what to do at what time, how much time you have to do 1, 2, and 3, and if you're gonna have time to finish everything and all of that type of jazz, you know. So it just kind of keeps you productive, motivated, and like very, very organized. So I would say always plan what you want to accomplish, let's say tomorrow, and then at the end of the day, assess what you actually did get done and write down what you actually got done, and it gives you a sense of how much time you spend on each task. And then if and when you want to adjust your schedule, you can do it realistically based on how much you're actually getting done throughout the day. So when it comes to scheduling, I would always say have wiggle room. Like, schedule a day off. Like, even when you're scheduling what to study and when, schedule a day off, because you really don't know if you're ever going to need a day off, if you ever, maybe something comes up and you might have to miss a day. So when you schedule a day off, it's good for you because you can take the day off without feeling guilty, because you know it's not going to mess up your system. You know that it fits into your schedule to have a day off. Another thing that you're always going to need to be scheduling is leaving the last day before your exam for review. Guys, trust me, do not ever, 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 ever leave any material to learn the day before an exam, because, like, speaking based on your forgetting curve, people who learn material 1 day before an exam are most likely to forget 50 to 80% of what they learned. So if you leave anything till the day before, then you're probably not going to remember it as well for your exam. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to need to schedule, and most people skip this step but is very, very crucial, is to schedule a day to just gather all your materials and organize all your materials. So you're going to need to put all your materials into different folders. So let's say on September 23rd, you're going to need documents X, Y, and Z. easy. Make a folder, label it September 23rd, and put all the documents that you're gonna be needing for that day. Like, you can do this while you're studying just to like find your study materials, but it really does eat up your studying time. Like, it really does take up significant amounts of time, like more than you think, to just gather your materials. So it's always best to just be organized and already have everything planned for you before you start studying. And my last tip for scheduling is, when you are scheduling what to study and when, never leave an entire day just for one subject. For an example, if you schedule Monday just to study physics, and then you plan on revisiting it like maybe a week later or a few days later, it's proven based on your learning curve that you're less likely to hold on to that information as well. So it's very, very important for you to like split every single subject every single day. So don't just study one subject a day, study multiple subjects a day, and just split all the material over however much time that you need. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the second section, which is all about studying. So your study environment plays a big, big role in your productivity. And when you want to determine what you want your study environment to be, you need to think of your 5 senses. First, what do you see? You know, in front of you, you always want to be super tidy, you want to be organized, you don't want to have any distractions around you. You want a room or a place or a space where you're going to have enough light to actually be able to see in front of you. And the reason that I say this is important and that you need to always be tidy and organized is because being disorganized can actually cause you to be very overwhelmed, and that's the last thing you need while you're studying, because studying for exams, you're already going to be stressed out, but you want to eliminate as much stress as possible. Second, what do you hear? Some people work better with music in the background, some people don't. And if you do, find a study playlist that's very calming, not with too many words, so you don't get distracted. I'm gonna link in the description box down below a lofty playlist, which is for studying, and it's perfect. I used to use it sometimes. Like, I'm the type of person who works better without music, but when I'm like working on something which is not for school, then I work better with music, which is, I know, kind of weird, but that's how it is. And I always use this playlist, and it's perfect for me. But yeah, there are some type of people who work better without music, so if you do, make sure you don't have any background noise in your study space. You also need to be thinking about any auditory distractions that could distract you or bother you or cause you to procrastinate while you're studying. So for an example, if you're in a space and you know there's going to be a lot of people talking in the background, you need to eliminate all those types of distractions. So if you're going to be studying at the library, study in the quiet room. If you're going to be studying in the house, study where you are completely away from people. So next, think about, what do you feel? The thing is, you want to be comfortable, but you don't want to be too comfortable, because if you're too comfortable, then your brain goes into relaxation mode, and you don't want to do that because that's going to limit your focus and your productivity. So for an example, I always say this, but avoid studying on your bed or on the couch as much as possible, because it's actually scientifically proven that studying on your bed or like on the couch limits your focus, because this is a place where your brain goes into relaxation mode. And also, as humans, we tend to associate spaces with how we feel. So for an example, if you're studying on your bed, even if you think you're being productive, you're gonna make this space a space of stress, because when you're studying, sometimes you can feel stress. So if you turn your bed into a space of stress, you might have trouble sleeping, and as a result, that's gonna affect your performance in both studying and how you're doing on your exams. Another thing that you need to proactively be thinking about in terms of feeling while you're studying in your study environment is the temperature. Honestly, sometimes for me, this is something that people don't really think about, but like for me, when I'm in an exam hall and I'm like freezing cold, I can never focus. Or if I'm like sweating and I'm super hot, then I also can't focus. So you need to do the same thing with your study environment. Proactively think about the temperature. Make sure you're comfortable, but again, don't be way too comfortable. So the fifth sense that we're going to be talking about is, what do you smell? And this plays a big role in how we actually feel, because like I said, most of the time when we're in our study environment, it is somewhat a space of stress, because you are stressed out about your exam or whatever that it is. And since we can associate smell with feeling, you can light a candle if you want, light something that calms you down. You know, how do you want to feel in your study environment? You can always alter the smell in wherever you are to to something that can associate you with a certain feeling. Also, sensory memory is a big thing. So for an example, if you want, you can spray a certain perfume on yourself while you're studying, and then when you get to your exam, spray that same perfume so it can help with your sensory memory. It can help you remember some things. So the next thing we're going to be talking about when it comes to studying is the time of day. If you know you're someone who can work so much more productively during the day, then schedule the hardest things for you to do during the day, and then when nighttime comes and you know you're not being that productive but you still want to study, schedule the things that are kind of easier for you to complete or not too much information for you to take all at once, and vice versa. Same thing, if you know you study better at night, schedule the hardest things for you to study at night, but make sure it doesn't like cause you to procrastinate. So when it comes to your study environment, you need to pick one space and like it. And whatever study space you end up at, make sure you don't watch Netflix in this space, you don't eat in this space, because as humans, we associate spaces with feelings. So for an example, if you're in your study space watching Netflix and eating or doing whatever, anything that isn't studying, when you get to the study space, sometimes you're gonna wanna subconsciously engage in habits that isn't studying. So you wanna make your study space only for studying. You know that when you're in this space, all I'm gonna do is study. You don't wanna associate any other habits with this space. Okay, so the next section we're gonna be talking about is testing. Obviously, you're gonna be needing to do a lot of practice questions or practice tests before your exam. Trust me guys, I used to always leave this to the last second and then never be able to do it. But then when I actually started to plan ahead and schedule time for when I need to do practice exams, this changed everything for me because I felt like I was actually in an exam setting. So the reason I say that this makes a big difference and that you need to do practice questions is because it helps you learn where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and where you need more practice. So basically, it just helps you prioritize. And I would say whenever you're testing yourself, always do cognitive practice. And what I mean is, put yourself in a space, in a situation where you're acting as if you actually are in an exam. So since we're online, your study space is actually going to be the space where you're doing your exam. So when you're doing your practice test, be in your study space, act as if you're going to be in your exam, time yourself, everything that could possibly relate to your exam as much as possible. And the reason I say this is because you want to set your brain up as if you're actually taking it in an exam. So since you're setting your brain up and you're setting this environment up, you can set it up in a positive manner. And because we normally associate stress with exams, you can transform this environment to whatever environment you want it to be. You want it to be more positive, you can do that. And that can really help with cognitive practice. And like I said in the beginning of this video, a big part of taking exams is blanking out. So when you set your brain up in a positive way and you associate the space in a very positive manner, because you know you've done cognitive practices here before and you know how this exam is kind of gonna play out, you feel less stressed, you associate it more positively. Okay, and the last section we're gonna be talking about for things you need to do before an exam is self-care. This is something that is looked over so widely, but the thing is, you need to make time for self-care during the exam process. And the reason that I say this is because normally when we're stressed, we tend to throw this out the window. We stop socializing with people, or we stress eat, or we don't eat, or we just don't take care of ourselves, or we have really bad sleeping habits. But the thing is, this is what's actually gonna make it worse for yourself, because if you don't stay on the same routine, then your body is gonna feel more stress, and what you want to do is reduce stress as much as possible, which is why we need to practice self-care and take care of ourselves in general. Although sometimes we do need to prioritize our schoolwork, that does not come over your mental health or your health in general. Again, like I said, we do need to reduce stress to perform better, so self-care is a big part of the exam process and the studying process and the preparation process. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be stressed. It's so normal to feel stressed. There's no shame in it. But at the same time, you still do want to reduce it as much as possible to avoid blanking out at any time during the process. So there are so many things you can do. First of all, always make sure you're on the same sleeping and eating habits, because again, sleeping at a proper time and eating at a proper time, it helps you perform better. And when you don't eat and sleep at a proper time, it's actually harder on your body, especially if you're used to a routine and you don't want to be messing up anything going on in your body anytime during the exam process. And next thing you can do is exercise. Exercising really helps with reducing stress, but at the same time, I don't mean go weightlifting at the gym every single day. If you want, do some yoga, go for a walk every day. Anything that can help you reduce stress, whether it's a small amount or a big amount, it does make a difference. The last thing you can do, which I think is the most important, is practicing mindfulness. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this for it to make sense. But basically, feelings of anxiety come from not knowing or worrying about the future, and feelings of depression come from living in the past. So practicing mindfulness is all about focusing on the now, because right now is the only thing you can control. Don't be worried about, oh my god, what if this comes on the test, or what if this is gonna happen, or focus on the past, like, oh, I failed that exam, so that means I'm gonna fail this exam. No, just focus on right now. Focus on what you can control. Again, you can do this through yoga. You can use relaxation exercises. There are specific breathing exercises you can do. There's something called box breathing which you can do, which is basically it's inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, exhaling for 4 seconds, and then holding for 4 seconds, and just doing that again. And basically when you do this, it's called the box meditation method, something like that, because when you do this, when you inhale for 4 seconds, then hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4, and then hold for 4, in your mind you're supposed to visualize it as a box, and it's supposed to calm you down and help you relax. So this is something that can really help you get back in the zone of being in control of right now, which is the only thing that you can control. Okay guys, so that's the end of the first episode of the videos about how to ace every single one of your exams. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it useful, and if you did, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. Don't forget to stay tuned for next week's video, which is all about what to do during the exam and after an exam to make sure you are able to ace every single one of your exams. So I'll see you guys next week.